Hello there, this is Zeeebo and welcome back to this video. So in this video, we are going to talk about the different factional talent teams that people are running to push through AFK stages with ease, and I'll be talking about just 4 teams in general. Because there's actually 5 different talents. There's the Graveborn one, there's the Light Bearer one, there's the Mauler, there's the Celestial Hypogen and the Wildest one. But in general, the Graveborn factional talent tile is pretty underpowered, at least on the AFK stage pushing side. So kind of unfortunate. That's why I wouldn't recommend people to use that. So I'll be talking about the other factional talents and then showcasing the teams with my account and talking about the different tags that you can actually swap out to actually give you, I'll say, like an easier time in terms of pushing. Okay. So starting off with number 4, I would say it's the Mauler tile. So Mauler tile right here is actually insanely good because they have really good, I would say, like base AFK stage pushing units like OD, Coco, as well as Smokey. So when you combine them together, right, they're still really good for AFK stage push. And even without the factional talent, they can still do really well. And the thing about the factional talent for the Mauler side actually gives the unit immunity once you reach stage 3. And as you upgrade the final node of stage 3, you will unlock the immune to first fatal blow, which allows the unit to be unaffected, right, as well as immune to death for quite a while. And this will allow your Smokey to have enough time to channel the ultimate right smack in the middle of the enemy, and then you just clean house with OD right here. So with regards to this team itself, Feresto is, I'll say, like a luxurious tank that you can use, but I think most other tanks work as well. I think Danny works, I think Torian works, I think your Brutus works as well. So this will be, I'll say, like the different combinations. Coco, OD, as well as Smokey, they will be, I'll say, like the core of the team. And then the other 2 unit depends on what you actually need, right? What you want to fill the void with. So you can obviously fill it in with Maulers, or you can just fill it in with maybe the likes of Iron together with Almas, for example, right? Just to group everyone together, and then you have like a much greater effect for your Smokey to channel through and then OD to slowly snap them down, right? But the thing is, I'll be featuring Iron and Almas in another team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feature a unit which is more Mauler, right? So I'm going to use our dear Brutus over here, and then I'm going to put in Antandra. So my Antandra is here, so this will give additional shield for Brutus. So this is usually how the Maulers run. We'll be sending in Smokey. So Smokey will be in the middle of this crew here. And Smokey will be channeling the ultimate. So once Smokey is positioned in the front end, right, the AoE of the ultimate will be able to cover a lot of grounds. And then there's another thing that I think this team is insanely good at, and that is dealing with units that are clumped up together with magical immunity. So not magical immunity, more like magic damage reduction, because there are certain stages in the high deficits where the units actually have magical damage shields, which reduces damage upwards to 70%. So using like your usual magical teams or magical units, they are not going to be as efficient, and then you need some physical damage built into that team, right? So Smokey is able to do HP percentage based damage, and then you still have the physical damage coming out from the Mauler factional talent, and then that's where you still will be able to actually do this Smokey into OD insta killing the units combo with the Mauler factional tile. So this is one team, right? This is the number 4th team. So the issue for this team is also pretty straightforward. I think for this team itself, the main issue with this team is with regards to whether or not your units can survive, especially Smokey, until he channels the ultimate, because the combo of this team usually works when OD is able to channel to the blue aura. You need OD with Mythic Plus, and then your Smokey is able to channel to the blue aura, and then your OD is able to slowly shoot and poison everyone and then insta kill them from there. But in most cases, if your enemies have control, this team is a little bit lackluster, because if you keep on getting chained by the enemy, not only is your Smokey's 3rd ultimate not coming out, your OD will also not be able to output damage properly. So it is good against teams without control, but it's not that good in a lot of situations where there's a whole bunch of control on the enemy team, or a whole bunch of really annoying units that is able to cancel Smokey's ultimate in general. So that's why it's the 4th position. Now next, moving on to the next team. So the top 2 I think needs no explanation, because you guys will see why they are so good. But for the 3rd team, is actually a really good team that existed a long time ago, and this is obviously the Iron Almas team together with the Wildest tile. So the Iron Almas team actually has, I'll say, like quite the power level even without the Factional Talent, because this is also a team that is used pretty consistently in the normal AFK stage pushing side. But with the Wildest Tile over here, we are able to buff up our damage output of Arden as well as Carolina even further, because your Prime Carrier gets increased attack speed and your Prime Carrier's normal attack damage to enemies more than 3 tiles away increases. So this not only allows your carries to hit harder, it also allows your carry to actually position themselves at a safer position, because this Prime Carrier actually can get the attack range to cover the whole map, so they need not move too close to the enemy, so this reduces their chances of dying. And that's why you don't actually need to run a healer for this team, because your carries will stay quite far behind. You have the shielding of Almas in case he falls in front, and then Iron is able to generate his own shield, and Tamasia over here provides additional stampede on the enemy to control them. And on top of that, Tamasia is also able to regen her own HP, so she synergizes really well with the Iron Almas combo together with Carolina to provide that like long chaining of control on enemy. And she's also able to act as a frontliner to distract the enemy, and she's able to heal herself. So this is one of the control teams that you can use. Obviously, with regards to, I'll say, like the substitutes itself, if you find yourself in situations where you need to use Lily May to cancel certain ultimates, for example Shakir's ultimate, for example certain transformation ultimate which makes the enemy really annoying, then you want to put Lily May in this slot as well. Or if you need additional healer, what you can do is you can group Iron here, or maybe put Tamasia here, right? Give Tamasia the Prime Carrier and then put in a Damien for additional sustain for the team if you need the heal. So these are the few techs you can use, but this is, I'll say, like the most common iteration for the control team. And usually we will use Resonating Spell against the enemy, but Resonating Spell is used specifically and exclusively for the number 1 team, which is Tazi Team, which I'll talk about later. So for this one, I'll showcase with the Tycho spell so that you can keep the Resonating Spell for another team in a 2-team scenario. So now we're going to showcase this. So this team only works when the enemies are controllable. So with this, you will be able to chain control the enemy in place, and that's where you will be able to lock them down, prevent them from doing anything, and then slowly grind down their HP from there. So the only reason why this team is not higher, despite this team being insanely powerful, is that there's a lot of high level units that are, number 1, strong to the magical teams. So this team being very reliant on the magical damage doesn't do very well against those units, and there's actually a few units in the current meta for this season that is immune to control effect. So I'll showcase a few of them later in case you guys haven't seen them, but this is basically how the team works. So all the teams that I'm going to talk about, they are generally pretty auto-friendly. So it's more about figuring what teams to use in what scenario, and then using the correct team to auto your way through. So this is what I like about this season, because I can be autoing and then I can be doing something in the background and then coming back to me clearing the stage itself. So that's what I've been doing. So I'm really lazy to manual for this time around, but for the unit this time around, there's actually this unit over here, quite a few of them. So this is the hero. Let's go to the enemy. Right, so these are the different units from the different collection, and then you can see that there are units with this unaffected as well as less magical damage, right? There's also this units over here practically same thing, same effect. So this is an effect that counters all the magical teams in general, and it is a way to sort of nerf the Iron teams in general. So this is one of the reasons why I cannot give Iron teams higher, because as you go deeper and deeper in the Factional Talent stages, magical damage in general, they are just gonna scale a lot less because of these units, and the second and third team, they're just a lot stronger, right, in terms of putting out damage and also, right, controlling the enemy. So the second team, without a doubt, is the Celestial Hypogen team. So for the Celestial Hypogen team, for you to activate the tiles itself, you need 3 Celestial Hypogen. I'll say the core units will be our dear Freyasto, because you need a tank, you need a frontliner. Freyasto is a core, one of the strongest frontliner in the current meta, right? And then you want to have Tadin. So the reason why I say you want to have Tadin, because Tadin is a damage dealer, AoE, single target, heal, also has multiple revives to deal with really annoying units, like for example Vala, right? Can use Tadin as a target, revive, and then come back and continue being a target in certain situations. And usually the third unit, we will feature Skalita. So Skalita is there to activate the tile and also deal with annoying units that are able to sort of escape insta-kills, right? For example, Odie's insta-kill, but you can't escape the sending out of Skalita's ultimate. So I think the best case scenario is using Skalita to send out Torrent, especially at the highest deficit. So these are the 3 units that are the more prominent one, but there are certain situations where, let's say if you don't have Skalita built up, you have Talin and our dear Fresto, then you run Reina. right? So you can do this as well. So as long as you have 3 Celestial Hypogen to activate the Tau, I think it's fine. But in most cases, Skalita and our dear Talin will be the choice, because one thing about Skalita is Skalita will be in the air for the first 15 seconds. So this Tau will always be able to activate at least within the first 15 seconds to control the enemy. Same thing for Talin, because we put Talin on the Shadow Tau most of the time. So this unit's control will be, I'll say, like pretty persistent. So this Tau over here offers the Dark Hole as well as the Light Hole, which is able to stun the enemy, deal true damage, and the Black Hole is able to pull everyone together to reposition them. So this is, I'll say, like the base team core in most cases. But if you don't have our dear Skalita, just run probably like Fresto, I guess, right? In certain situations, you need to run Dino or Barrel, because you need the physical attacker to deal with the different enemies out there. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of units that are magically immune. So the other 2 units, in terms of the tech department, there's actually quite a few. So we have obviously the Iron Armors for the control, because for this case, when you use Iron Armors, what will happen is Iron Armors will be able to pull the enemies together, and then you just control them to death, and then you slam them out with Skalita's ultimate. Or you can obviously put the more common Smoky plus OD combo, and then put either Tight Core Spell, right, for you to get additional damage, more haste, or you can use our dear Binding Spell to reposition enemy, to control them, to hold them in place, give your team a little bit more defenses to survive better, or you can even run Verdant Spell just to give everyone like a different class buffs for you to maximize the efficiency of the different roles. So for this one, what I'll do, I'll go with Tight Core Spell, because I will showcase this with the Iron Armors variant. For this slot, you can also run a double healer, just to let like Talin burn the enemy down. So I guess this is what I'll do. Right? I'll run the double healer and I'll run Tight Core Spell for additional damage. So this is what I'll do. And without further ado, let's start this run. Okay. So this team is insanely good, because this control is pretty consistent. So if you stack it with the Iron Armors combo, you can pretty much hold the enemy, position them in place, prevent them from doing anything. But if you use Iron Armors, you don't have the heal coming out for Talin to sustain the ultimate. So in most cases, I'll say, depending on the enemy, depending on your hero collection, you want to fill different units for, I'll say, a different purpose. Okay, so for this one, I think we can't run the sustain variant, because there's a Parisa on the other end. So what I will do is we'll go with the control variant. So this is what I mean by you have to make the adjustments depending on who you face. So I think we'll go with the control side. So this one probably needs more control to prevent Parisa from casting her skills or her ultimate. Yeah, because Parisa on the highest deficit is insanely hard to deal with if she starts to spam her ultimate. So you can see right here, right, we are controlling, right, with Skalita stun, controlling with Armor stun, controlling with Iron together with Armor's root combo, and then the enemy just can't move, right? It's the same idea as the Iron Armor's control, but this team functions a lot better because depending on the enemy type, this team is a lot more flexible against different enemy types, specifically those magic immune units as well as the control immune units, because the Celestial Hypogen Factional Talent itself actually does quite a bit of damage because it's true damage, and on top of that, because it's Celestial Hypogen characters, Talin, Skalita as well as Fresto, they all hit really hard, right? They do a lot of damage, so they offer you like this higher quality pushing and just being able to deal with most teams, most situations. Okay, so that's why this is probably, I'll say, like the second strongest. Now, for the strongest team, right? The strongest team is without a doubt the Tazi team. So, Tazi, thanks to the light barrel combo, is able to do her disco dance pretty consistently. And I'll say this team is strong because this team is just able to deal with most situations as long as you're able to get Tazi's ultimate off. Like, it is basically, how do I solve this stage? Can you get your Tazi's ultimate off? If yes, use the Tazi comp. So the thing about like making this team work, I think the only real core of this team is these two units. Because one is to allow for the spam, one is to spam the ultimate to provide damage as well as control, and then, right, you need to get the Factional Talent for the light barrier side. So this is where, right, usually it will be Lucius as the tank, and then one unit to sort of deal with the different scenarios that you might face. So you can use Corinne, you can use Vala, you can use Merrily, you can use Tamasia. I think Tamasia is probably like the better one because Tamasia is able to draw away some attention, draw away some fire, as well as provide a little bit of control, but it's subjective, right? You can even use Walker. So in this case, I'll use Walker because Walker got the initial stun to hold the enemy in place to buy us a little bit more time for Tazi to start her ultimate engine. So this is what I call the Tazi disco dance. And then for the very last slot, I think usually it will be Hyuin, because Rowan and Hyuin together, when Hyuin is channeling the ultimate, your units basically don't die. And then Rowan is able to sort of regen the energy as Hyuin is channeling her ultimate. So that's one of the good thing about Hyuin together with Rowan. And without further ado, I'm just going to showcase this team. So you will realize that most of the teams that I'm using right here, they are super duper auto friendly. In fact, I like this. I think for this season, most of these teams, they are auto friendly. It's just that some of them, they take a bit of time to actually push through the stages, because you still have to manually switch between the teams and then sort of use the correct team for the correct enemy types. So yeah, this is Tazi's disco dance. So for this part, usually I don't actually stare at the screen, because the light effect is actually really like flashy at times. So what I like to do is just put it in the background, do my own stuff, come back later, did I clear the stage? If I haven't yet, I'll switch the team around and try different strategies. So this is with regards to the top 4 factional talent teams that you guys can use. This Tazi team right here, once you kickstart this combo, most of the situation is solvable with this team right here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video, right? Hopefully you guys seen the late game power of some of this insanely good AFK stage pushing team. Personally, I'm somebody this season that takes AFK stage pushing, I'll say like more chill. Like I like all these auto teams, because like I used to manual a lot with the previous Monkey team, which is what I hated, because you have to actually like pull the units to the correct position, use specific ultimates at the correct time to actually allow Smokey's ultimate to go through. But specifically for this season, what I feel is that with these teams itself, they're all decently auto-friendly. There are a lot of situations or a lot of days where I just put the team there, auto battle, go do my stuff or do the other in-game stuff, and then come back to see myself clear a few stages from a day-to-day basis to get all the different power-up rewards itself. So that's it for this video, right? Let me know what's your experience doing your AFK stage push. Are you a hardcore player? Are you a chill player? Are you a free-to-play player that's still stuck at the earlier levels? Let me know. And thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!